Sales psychology is just understanding how and why people buy. That's like as simple as we can put it. The how and the why people buy. And the reason why, there is this field of psychology specifically around sales is because it better helps us understand, again, the consumer, the customer, but then be able to be more effective with our actions and strategy in meeting them, kind of where they're at.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast In the House. I'm Jenny Woon.
I'm Tony Singh.
And you are joining us with Chaufa. How are you doing, Chaufa?
I'm so good. How are you?
Thanks for coming on our podcast.
Nice to see you.
I'm super pumped to be here. Really, really excited.
Thank you. Well, we met you, Tony and I met you at Framework Retreats in North Vancouver back in February 2nd, I believe.
It was February 2nd in 2022. Yeah.
And we were doing our workout routine on the floor. You were like going right at it. You were like hardcore, like running, doing jumping jacks. Couldn't catch up with you.
Please do not remind me of that moment because I'm still so embarrassed to this day because I came in right at the workout and I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a second workout in today. It's going to be freaking awesome. I'm just going ham. And like Drake comes on, so I'm like in the mood. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, I have to speak now. Like it was my turn to speak in front of everyone. And I had sweated through my shirt pretty much, and I was just drenched. I ran to the bathroom. I was like, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot." Like,
no, you're having a human moment.
I was like, "You're not here to work out. You're here to speak to these women, and now you got to sit in front of them, and you're just like sweating so much and already nervous, And anyways, I had a clip of the stories, and I showed my friends and family. And I was like, see if you can spot me. And they all immediately were like,
you're running really fast.
Yeah, they're like, you're that one right there. That's like, looks like she's in the military, but she's obviously not, anyways.
But you know what that means? It just shows you're just super passionate.
And your enthusiasm.
Yeah, you're just a go-getter. And this is why you're here today. You're just, you're here to talk about your passion about helping female entrepreneurs master their minds, master their business. And let's get right into it because you're always so positive. You do your Tea Tuesdays, Tuesday teas. I'm not really sure. I think it sounds great both ways, actually.
Yeah.
But tell us more about yourself and how you became a sales mindset coach.
Yeah, so I try to make this as short as possible, but it seems like it's always this winding story. Definitely not the trajectory that I had thought I'd be on 3 years ago. So I was a psychology graduate. I went to school for psych, finished with my BA in honors, and the next kind of obvious step after you become a psych grad is go to grad school now, right? You can't get a job with a psych degree. You got to go to grad school. So applied to a ton of grad schools, and all I got were rejection letters. And I was devastated, and I was a very hardworking student, had all the things, that I thought would get me into grad school. Only got rejection letters, and so after a lot of ice cream, a lot of crying, and a lot of reevaluating, I decided, you know what, F the grad schools. I'm going to figure this out on my own. I'm going to start my own business and see if I can make this work in my own way. And so started my business 3 years ago. It's had a lot of pivots since. And what I've ultimately always come back to is the power of your mindset and how it has such an incredible ripple effect in your life and in your business. So that's kind of the short of it.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Great resilient story.
What did you go to grad school? Like, what were you applying for?
Yeah, so for grad school, I was applying for industrial and organizational psychology. So I was really passionate about workplace mental health and creating, mental health programs specifically for hospitality and service industry employers, because that's just a whole industry that lacks any sort of support and awareness. And there's mental health is just, this is a whole separate conversation, but that's what I was originally going into grad school for. And that was the first go at my business. And then COVID hit. And of course, restaurants are closed, bars are closed. So it was an opportunity for me to really look at, what is it that I'm truly passionate about? And then mindset came to the forefront. That's what I've always been passionate about, personal development. And so then we pivoted, and then things just started to unravel after that.
Amazing. And so, what other than being interested in it and going to school for it, what other experience do you have before being your own coach, being a coach, in terms of psych, in terms of like dealing with like trauma, dealing with that type of experience in like mental wellness?
Yeah, I would say, prior to school, I had a lot of different experiences volunteering and working with different communities of people. And I've always just gravitated to understanding people. I've always been so fascinated and curious about, like, why are people the way they are? Why do they think this way? Why do some people, have these beginnings and then end up on this trajectory while others end up on this trajectory? So I've like, since I was very young, I can always remember just reading so much about things like that. And after working in hospitality and service for 13 years, I want to say, you just deal with hundreds of people, so many different personalities and walks of life. And you naturally, or at least for me, I just became naturally so curious to understanding more and more about people, which also helped me better understand myself.
Before we give a lot of advice and tips, thanks so much for coming on our podcast. I really want to understand what sales psychology is. What exactly does that mean before we
Jump in.
jump into some advice?
Yeah, so the simplest way I could put it is sales psychology is just understanding how and why people buy. That's like as simple as we can put it. The how and the why people buy. And the reason why, there is this field of psychology specifically around sales is because it better helps us understand, again, the consumer, the customer, but then be able to be more effective with our actions and strategy in meeting them, kind of where they're at.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. Thank you. Um, you work with a lot of real estate agents now. Would you say that that's accurate? You know a lot of people. And one of the common themes that we've talked about on our podcast is positive mindset, a lot about mindset, just in terms of success and the outcomes that people would like. What are the three things that you have found in common with your real estate agent clients regarding mindset or, yeah?
That's a great question. Number one that comes top of mind is they are so freaking passionate. They are so passionate about their work, and you can just tell immediately when you start to talk about it, or you ask them, why did you get into real estate? What is your favorite part about it? Their eyes just light up. So that's like a huge thing for me, is you can feel and see the passion behind what it is that they do. I would say the second thing is that they're very similar to me in that they love people. They love the social interaction, the social experience of their work. They love meeting new people, understanding people, being able to serve people. And then I think finally, it would be wanting to just allow themselves to showcase who they are inside of their businesses. I think for a long time, realtors were just so obsessed with this professional, like uber, like, white shirt, and I'm in a suit and a tie every single day, and I'm always like put together, and of course there's immense value in that, and that's part of the work. But there's also this human side of being a realtor that contributes immensely to you connecting to your clients and bringing in new clients.
Yeah.
What do you find are the most challenging, or what are some obstacles that realtors face?
I think that it is, I would say the most prominent one I've seen is really understanding their value in the exchange, in the transaction, because you can just look at it as a business transaction, right? Buying a selling of a property, very super, surface level, very face value. But if you really dig deep, it's an experience, and it's a very personal, intimate experience. And who's the one that's carrying that experience? Who's the one delivering the experience, right? It's the realtor. So I have found that there's a bit of that gap between understanding, oh, I'm the most valuable part of this transaction.
Mhm. I think most often it's very difficult for an agent to put a handle, like point a finger at themselves. I add value to this experience. Um, One of the things that I really want to know as well is like, how do realtors, I know that you help with sales calls and you're a master at it and helping online coaches and entrepreneurs. In a sense, realtors also do sales calls and outbound calls. And so I know that there's, not necessarily need to talk about how to close a deal, how to close on a house, but what are some secrets that you think, what are some of the secrets that you can share with us that will master like a closer?
So the first thing I would say is going in with the objective of, we just want to help this person make a decision. That's the ultimate goal. Where the decision lies, whether they go with you or they go with someone else, that's none of our business. Right now, the goal is just to help them make a decision, right? Because if we can't get them to make a decision, then they sure as hell are not going to work with you. So that's the first step, right? So when we approach it with that mindset of, I just need to help them make a decision, I feel like there's this level of emotion and ego and pressure that we relieve and we remove from the conversation, and we just help them find clarity. We provide all the information that they need. We help them find clarity so that they can make that decision. And when you approach, a sales call or a conversation in that way, people can feel that, right? There's this level of ease and confidence that transcends the conversation, where they're like, this person's not just trying to push me into the corner. This person's genuinely just trying to help me make a decision. And naturally, they feel very, very comfortable. They can trust the person. And then the sale usually ends in your favor.
I like what you said about that too. It sounds like you're also saying to help someone make a decision, the decision that's right for them, you as the salesperson cannot be attached to the outcome of whether or not it would benefit you or not, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you on that. Um, in terms of, like, let's say, for example, an agent is structuring a sales call or they're going to take on sales call, what is your advice for how they should actually structure that conversation?
So I would, and again, like, I want to preface this by saying sales calls and sales processes that I do are typically with online coaches and entrepreneurs, but I do feel like some of this would resonate with realtors. It's to lead with the value piece first, right? So leading with the value that they're going to get out of working with you, whatever that transaction is. Because most people will jump out the gate and just want to know price. They want to know like all those kinds of things, money related. And when you do that, it's then hard for people to rationalize the price tag if they haven't seen the value yet. right? So when you go the other way and you propose all the value, you show that up front. Then when you give them the price tag, they're like, well, the value is way higher. The value that I'm going to receive is actually way higher than the price tag. So then it becomes, quote unquote, easier sale, if you will.
Hmm.
Mm. And so finding the value for an agent, I think often an agent says, I do high quality photos, I give the best feedback, and I give you clear feedback, fast feedback. I give you free home evaluations. Over the courses of you helping the realtors, what are some examples of like an agent or two discovering what their value is?
Good question.
I think just using the example that you just shared there, Jenny, like ways to showcase the value is bringing all of that back to why that's going to benefit them, right? Because so we can say, oh, you're going to have great photos for your home, you're going to have a great evaluation, but what does that mean for them, right? Like the customer doesn't have the same level of knowledge or thinking that the realtor does. So we have to bring it back to exactly, like specifically, how does this actually benefit me? Right? So, like for example, one of my clients, we talked about her values in her business and identifying what her values are in her business. And one of them was honest communication, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fantastic and needed, right? When it comes to transactions. But how does that benefit them? How does that benefit your customer? Because anybody can say that, but the people need to know exactly why that's important to them. Because then you are going to, I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm going to tell you exactly the holes that I see or make suggestions, whatever the case may be. But again, just always tying it back to them and the value they will receive.
Um, I think someone would try to probably spill out like as many values as possible because they're kind of rolling the dice on things. And so most often the client or customer would select you if your values align
Mm.
and you would connect that much faster. So what kind of discovery questions would you actually pose or position to that potential client or lead so that you're not having to you name 10 different values and you're just really just picking the ones that you know that is high on their priority?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jenny. The first question I would ask, and this might not be pertinent to every potential client, but if they've had experiences in the past working with realtors, what were some of the things that they loved about that experience and some of the things they didn't like? If this person is also reaching out to you, I would ask, what is it that drew you to me specifically? Because they've already made up their mind on like why they're paying attention to you, right? So you can just pull it right out of them. That's what I do. And I would say, what are your priorities, I guess, or what is it that you want to get out of this experience?
I like what you said about that. It sounds like it's very much like when you're coaching your clients and things, it's very much about their potential clients and helping those clients make the decision and taking I don't know if this is going to make sense, but your clients who you're working with out of that equation, like we kind of had discussed before, not being attached to the outcome and just being of service. So I'm curious,
As
in
a
your
sec
opinion, what would you think would be 3 sales objections that could come up during those sales calls? And how could realtors be proactive in dealing with those objections?
Yeah, so the top three money objections I always see is money, time, and spouse objection or partner objection, which is kind of like, for me, I think it falls under the money objection because I think it's just a stall tactic, a stall objection, sort of. But those would be the top three that I see: money, time, and spouse or partner objection. And really how you want to, or how you want to, circumvent these objections, it all comes back to value, right? It means that your potential customer does not see the value. Therefore, they can't warrant the price tag. Therefore, they can't make time. Therefore, they can't get their partner on board, right? Because if at the end of the day, this offer, this product, whatever the service was, you saw the value in it and it was like, 4x what the actual price tag is, the money wouldn't be an issue. Everybody's busy, but everybody makes time for things that actually matter and that are important to them, right? And if you're worried about your spouse not being on board, well, like, it's you're an individual, and so, like, if you truly saw the value in it, that wouldn't be a problem.
Absolutely.
Great tips.
Yeah. And working with some of your realtor clients, do you have like a success story you can actually share with us where they came to you and they're maybe having trouble getting traction with leads and not really knowing where they stand in amongst 14,000 other agents, and how you've really how they've kind of overcome that, like either imposter syndrome or I'm not good enough syndrome. Yeah, maybe that would be great to kind of share with us.
Yeah, so the client that I want to talk about, he's an avid listener of this podcast, so hopefully he's okay with me sharing this story.
Well, don't
but,
give his name.
No, I won't. Yeah, and his address and his date of birth and all those things. Yeah, so he is an amazing realtor, has the accolades, doing incredibly well for himself. His social media, though, this is where I started working with him. His social media marketing and his brand were very, how do I say it? Oh, I feel bad because he's gonna hear this. They were just lacking, like, soul. Like, they were lacking his personality, right? Great content, great photos, all on brand, like visually. But there was that personality piece, that human piece that was missing. And so we worked together, and I really challenged him to show his face on stories, get on video, pushed him all the way out of his comfort zone. And we really dug deep as to where the hesitation was, right? And there was a lot of fear around fear of judgment, social anxiety, fear of imposter syndrome, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of saying something, somebody calling you out, people thinking you don't know what you're doing, right? And actually, like, it actually being detrimental to your business versus being of benefit. So did a ton of mindset work around that, created an incredible content marketing strategy for him. He's showing up on stories all the freaking time, doing all these reels, doing all these lives, and his community responded so incredibly well. Like, he received so much love and support. People were like, oh my God, it's so nice to see, like, you, like, who you are behind your business and all these other personal aspects of your life that people take into consideration when they think about the realtor that they want to work with. Whether they're conscious of it or not, those are things that they think about and they want to see. So for me, that was a humongous triumph, because I know long term he's already doing well in his business, but now he's able to showcase more of who he is in and outside of his business and align with those clients.
So he does it regularly now on the spot, naturally. Good.
Yeah, it's like the most beautiful thing to see. I watch his stories like religiously, and I'm like, oh my God, you're doing it again. Like, and he's just like he's like so chill about it now. And like, he looks like he's having so much fun, and it makes me so happy, because I remember the first time he did a story, whatever, I remember him telling me, he was like, so nervous, and I was like sweating and like had to refilm a ton. And now he's like, this is fun for me. I get to, like, connect with my community, meet new clients, and I get to showcase who I am and really connect with people just outside of just my realtor title.
Like, how many sessions did it take for you to overturn his attitude and mindset on that?
I think we worked together for about three months, 3 to 4 months. Yeah, and I will say though that he was very consistent about doing the work, right? Because we could work together for a year, but if you're not doing the work and you're not consistent with it, then it's not going to be effective.
Beautiful story. How important talking about being on social media? How important is selling on IG stories for realtors and entrepreneurs? And obviously, like it makes sense for fashion. You can
Mm.
make purchases online nowadays. So how important is IG stories really for a realtor?
So important, so important. Like, this is your opportunity to almost have like a virtual meet and greet with potential clients, right? This is your opportunity for people to get to know who you are, how you communicate, your voice, your tone, your body language. All of those things people pay attention to, right? At a subconscious level, right? So I think about it like, imagine if you're like, you know, door knocking, right? And you're like knocking on all these doors, you want to hand out this brochure, whatever. Most of the time people don't answer the doors. But on stories, it's like when people watch your stories, you already have their attention. You're like one step in their house now, and you can start a conversation with them. So why are we not utilizing this to do so? You get to talk to so many more people at one time than you would if you were physically, running around the neighborhood trying all these different doors. Like, these people are watching your stories for a reason. So let's, maximize on that.
Hmm.
How would you maximize on that?
So realtors, I mean, you're going to be showing your listings, lots of them. I suggest doing like in real time, when they're doing their tours, like videoing in real time. Also, just showing their day to day life. People love this stuff. People are so fascinated. They love it, right? We're so fascinated by the most human things. Like, oh, I'm working from a coffee shop today. People putting up polls like, how do you take your coffee? The amount of times you will attract someone who's just like an avid coffee lover, just like you, and then eventually the conversation carries and carries and carries, and then they end up thinking about you when they want to buy or sell a home, because they're like, oh, we have commonalities. Like, those are the kinds of things that you want to be leveraging on your social, are just connection points, right? How can another potential client connect with me at a personal level first, and then business?
Hmm. I often find that one of the problems, or I guess concerns, a lot of agents tell or share with me is that they're trying so hard to put all this content out and they're not getting traction. So, is there a number of months that they should kind of be patient and patiently wait? Or should they look forward and maybe strategize on the type of content that they should put out? Or maybe they should be like creeping more on their potential clients' feed account and kind of reach out that way? Like, is that too aggressive? Like, what are some positive, like proactive ways an agent can kind of convert in that sense?
So I always like to approach things like first mindset wise, right? So when it comes to social media marketing, social media strategies, content marketing, these are all long game strategies, right? You have to have that mentality, right? This is not I'm going to post and then get 5 leads. Like, none of that garbage, right? This is about consistency and long-term game. And you have to have that mentality of like, I'll just keep being consistent, and I'm going to reevaluate my content, and I'm going to keep reading the feedback and tweaking. But for me, how I approach my business is there is no insight. There is no insight to the content. There is no insight to, oh, I've gotten X amount of clients and now I'm going to stop. It's just part of business, right? So it's part of the work that you do. It's just inherent in it. So when I think about it like that, it relieves the pressure of, well, then here's the timeline, I should be seeing results by X date, because it doesn't happen like that. And the more you hold on to that timeline, the more frustrated you're going to be, the crappier your content is going to be. I'll tell you that much, because you're pushing it out because you just want to see results.
Yeah, that's true. It's been also a consistent theme, right, with talking about consistency and the long game versus short-term benefits, I suppose, right? You've also spoken a lot about how authority, relatability, social proof, and specificity play into sales psychology. I guess, could you expand just a little bit more about that in terms of how that can relate to your realtor clients and how they can use that on their social media or even in interactions with clients?
Yeah, so let's start with relatability. That sales psychology principle, it's relatability or likability is what they call it. So basically, as humans, we connect with people who we like, right? Seems pretty self-explanatory, right? We're only going to connect with someone if we like them, right? So how is it then that we decide that we like somebody? We like somebody based on how similar they are to us. Okay, it sounds so egotistical, but this is the truth, right? The more similar this person is to me, the more I like them, right? So the more similar in values, interests, lifestyle, hobbies, passions, all of those kinds of things, like political views, religious views, right? All of that, they just rank higher and higher and higher on that likability scale, the more things I have in common with them. So tying this back to stories, right? This is why sharing personal aspects of you, who you are outside of the realtor title, right? This allows them to, tick off on the likability scale. Hey, Tony likes this, so do I. Okay, she's cool. Okay, oh, she likes like cycling. I love cycling too. Okay, next point. She likes brownies. Okay, I love brownies. Like, it sounds ridiculous and overly simplified, but this is really how our brain works when we determine how we like, whether or not we like someone. And of course, with buying and selling, it's such an intimate personal experience. You want to work with someone that you like. So that would be the first thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
No,
no. We're just going to go down this list here of even authority.
Yeah.
So authority, people need to know that you know what the hell you're doing, right? That you hold knowledge or expertise that they don't know, because they're coming to you to solve a very specific problem. So how are you going to help them solve that problem? What kind of knowledge and expertise do you have to help them solve that problem? So you want to showcase that, in your stories or on your content. This is why a lot of realtors have all of their accolades and, medallion and top 1% and this and that in their bio, right? Or awards and achievements in their content feed, right? This is all to help exercise the authority principle from sales psychology, because people want to work with people who know what they're doing.
So who have the credibility. Gotcha.
I'm just making note. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Social proof.
Social proof. So client testimonials, so simple. The amount of realtors that I have seen who I'm like, why aren't you leveraging your testimonials? They're like, I have like 30 just sitting there. I'm like, what are you doing, right? The best referral for, your potential clients is seeing other previous clients and their experience working with you, because their testimonials, hopefully, are completely unbiased and are very honest, right? So when they can see other people's experiences working with you, again, this just adds to your credibility, and it is a way of like tooting your own horn, but without you doing it. Like someone else is tooting your horn for you.
Totally. Yeah. And then finally, specificity.
So specificity, this is a little bit more nuanced, I feel like, when it comes to real estate, but being very specific about maybe the kind of client that you want to work with, right? And I feel like there could be some resistance to this because, the more business, the better, right? But if you actually narrow your focus a bit, and get really intentional around like the clientele that you want to work with, your market, the demographic, you are then able to reach more people because the focus is smaller now, right? It's not like you're trying to speak to everyone. You're trying to speak to this specific, slice of the pie here.
So it sounds like in order to be successful on a social media platform, for example, you'd want to combine a variety of all of these components, right? Um, it's very interesting when you break it down in that way because each specific point is pointing to something else entirely, like the knowledge base, you as the professional, showing who you truly are, and there's alignment in all of those things. Um, I have to tell you, well, actually, maybe you could give me some advice. I have a question. I used to, well, I used to show more of my personal life with my kids because I love my kids. Jenny knows that I love spending time with my kids. And I used to bring them onto social media, but I'm feeling a little bit right now, I have a struggle with that because there's also a privacy issue as well. What advice would you like? Does this come up at all with other people that are in the public eye when showcasing their personal life with families? And how would you suggest that I get around that? Because I'm not showcasing them at all on my social media anymore. It's a privacy thing for me.
Mm.
Yeah, I think, Tony, that's a great question and completely valid because there's a lot of things to be concerned about, especially with children on social media. And this is really based on your comfort level. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I have clients who are completely comfortable with showcasing their family, and others are like, absolutely not, I'm not for that. And so, if you want to keep that, private and have them not be, on your stories or whatever displayed, there are still ways that you can incorporate your family life, like let's say, if you're planning a family activity or something, you can just take a story of like what it is you're doing without them physically in it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's a good point. And I asked specifically for the relatability factor, right? Relating with families, it's very important to me. But if I'm not going to have them on there anymore, or if I would sometimes, that's a big component of aligning with clients with families.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to show their face. Like, you could do a story. I've done walkthroughs, or I've suggested to clients, you can just go on stories and tell them like what you're doing today. Oh, I'm taking Jack and Jill to the park, or like you don't need to show their face, right? But
No, it's a good workaround. Thank you for sharing
right,
that.
you can just use your own face and your own voice, and or you could take still images of, again, like, I don't know, if you're at a restaurant, you're like, oh, I'm here with Jack and Jill, we're just having a family lunch. Like, I can't think of like better kid names right now.
Jack and Jill went up the hill. That's right. No,
And
that's perfect. Thank
and
you for
Tony,
that.
maybe like really love that one post that you had where you're playing with your kids at a table, but their faces weren't showing.
Yes,
Was that
that was
hard
fun.
to
Well,
take a photo?
no, it was okay. We like to do family game night.
Mhm.
But yeah, it would be okay as long as their face. I don't know why
Mhm.
I just feel this way right now.
Well, you're protected. Like I think it's fair that to say
Yeah,
you're just
and
being
I'll
protective.
be clear too. I think it's great when I see other people's kids on social. I'm like, oh, it's great. Look how big they've gotten. But it's just, yeah, it's that protective mode. So I've shifted things a bit, gone away from social media, and it's also a huge part of my life to want to be with my family. So I'm like, oh, I need to bridge the gap now of showcasing something, but also being comfortable, as you say,
Mhm.
um, with how it's going to be presented.
Yeah, and what Jenny just suggested is, I was gonna say that too. Is like, if you feel comfortable, just with the back of their head. Like, I've seen that from other people who want their children to remain private and not on social. That's a workaround if that feels comfortable to you. But there's other ways that you can incorporate your family and the value that they hold without necessarily just posting their faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the advice, girls. Thank you.
And Tony, I know that you are a relational like agent
Mhm.
who love to connect face to face.
Mhm.
So if they see you playing at a park or playground, picking up your kids at school,
Mhm.
that already I feel like holds a lot more weight than you posting a picture
Sure.
and video with you and your
And
kids.
that's also why I haven't been on there as I don't know. I think social's great. I've never I'm trying to embrace it
Yeah, and
still.
most I think most parents who
Yeah.
have kids probably appreciate the fact that they're I think they would be understanding that you don't post about your kids, like,
Mm.
because they could be thinking the same thing too. They could be,
Some of them,
yeah.
some of them. But yeah, no, this is great tips, you guys. Thank you.
Uh, Chofa, so moving on to like your offering,
Mhm.
you've had some really great programs that you've offered that are, kind of week by week where they kind of tune in to some group coaching. But right now, what are you working on that's coming up in the new year? But also, what does your one on one coaching look like right now?
Mhm.
Yeah, so my one-on-one coaching right now is very much tailored to that client and wherever they're at. That's like the joy of working with those one-on-one clients is that they're at a different level in their business now where they want like a collaborator, like a partner who can really give them a different point of view, a different lens, creatively, mindset, energetically, strategically, all of those kinds of things. So um, it's very tailored to where they're at. Like I said, some of them are scaling, some of them are wanting to, switch their niches and move into this area business. So that's probably the worst way to explain what I want coaching, but
It sounds like you're curating a one-on-one custom
Mhm.
experience.
exactly, Tony. You're the best. You got it. I should just cut that audio clip and carry you with me on my phone. And then yeah, right now I'm very much in the works of planning for 2023. I can't believe it's like Q4 is about to start. It's absolutely insane, but I'm really excited for what's to come in the new year and just really focusing on what are the offers that I want to expand? Is there a different way that I want to serve my clients? And getting even more narrow and more specific about the people that I want to work with moving forward.
Mhm. Oh, that's good, like a client avatar, perhaps? Um, well, that's a good segue because in thinking about that, as of today, who would be your suitable or ideal client, for your coaching programs?
A suitable ideal client, someone who is very passionate about what they do. They are purpose driven, but also they want to make money, right? There is no shame in that. I want to have massive impact and I want to have massive income, right? And again, no shame in that. I want, clients who are ready to do the work, right? They're ready to push themselves way outside their comfort zones because they want massive results and they want massive change in their lives and in their businesses. So I'm very much like a go-getter. I'm very much like a, go kind of coach, but also recognizing um, that there's so much heart in business too, right? And it's a beautiful journey. It's a human journey. And yeah, that's the kind of client that I work with.
And what does that structure or framework look like? Is it a year, like an annual commitment or a month to month commitment?
Yeah, so my one-on-one coaching is a 6-month commitment, and we have private coaching sessions twice a month, and then they have unlimited Voxer access to me. Voxer is kind of like WhatsApp; it's like a walkie-talkie messenger app, so that in between sessions we are troubleshooting, we are working through things on Voxer and making lots of big actions and big moves in their businesses.
Troubleshooting. I like that
Yeah,
word.
that's good.
I'm gonna yeah, put that note down right now. Oh, you got it.
Oh, sorry. I put something else here too.
Let's start our 5 rapid fire questions. Oh,
Okay. Oh, yeah, I
we
know.
forgot the
We should
number
just
one
add it to the
question.
rapid
Yes.
fire.
We always forget, Chofa. We always forget to ask this at the very beginning of the session because we just want to go like right into it.
Ask away.
So our first question we're going to now add is, what is your spirit animal?
Spirit animal?
Yeah.
Um, my spirit animal is the phoenix.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a great spirit animal.
all right.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the phoenix and the story behind it of how it's like a constant rebirth and regeneration of the phoenix.
I love that.
Mm,
Always moving forward.
okay.
What is one ritual that you use to get your day started?
Gym for sure. Yeah, I work out first thing in the morning. I get up at 5. Workout has to happen right away, otherwise I will eat and then be too full the rest of the day, and I won't want to work out. But it's always the gym for me, and not checking anything on my phone until I've done my workout, gotten myself ready, had breakfast, and journaled, and then I will check my phone.
Fab.
That's great.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh dear. Oh my gosh. um. Oh, I think easygoing. Hopefully fun and very kind.
Okay.
I also am noticing a fourth one. Passionate. You're very passionate. I like that. Okay. You're welcome. Next, what or who is your biggest inspiration?
I think I would say my mom. My mom is a huge inspiration to me. She's not an entrepreneur or, in this area of work by any stretch, but my mom immigrated from Vietnam, and that in itself is like has just given me so much more opportunity than she ever had, and she's made so many sacrifices for me to have the life that I do now. And so it's a constant experience of regrounding myself, understanding, all the things that my mom went through to get me here and how I plan on paying it forward.
Mm. Where does your name come from? I'm just adding this extra,
That's not in the questions, but she's just
I'm
curious.
just adding this in.
Yeah, this is a great question. So my mom says that she came up with it because my dad's last name is Chow, like Chau, and I actually took my mom's last name, which is Nguyen. So they added FA, made it Chaufa, whatever. That's the story. But I Googled Chaufa maybe 10 years ago, and it means Peruvian fried rice.
I love it.
So if you Google Chaufa, it's just like images on images of fried rice and more fried rice and fried. So it's the best story, because when I used to work in restaurants and I used to wear name tags, the like people from Peru would come up to me and they'd be like, "Do you know what your name means?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "You're from Peru?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, it means fried rice." And they're like, "Yeah, we love Chaufa."
Listen, at least you're something delicious, okay? It could be worse.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask the second last question. You had part of your story and journey is you graduating from high school and applying for further education. Let's just say you just graduated from high school now. Knowing what you know, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Sorry, Jenny, do you mean university? I just want to.
Yeah, like you were applying for all these universities, right?
Oh, she's asking you to go back in time. Yeah.
Go back in time and go back as if you just graduated from high school.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay. What would I tell myself if I were to go back in high? Don't follow the path that other people are doing because you feel like you will fail otherwise, right? And not trusting your own instincts.
Last question. Where can our listeners find you, especially if they would like to get into sales mindset coaching and hire you for your services?
Mhm.
I live on Instagram. That's where I am most days, so you can find me there. My handle is at Chaufa Nguyen. DMs are always a safe space. Can ask any questions, reach out, connect, anything at all. Yeah, that's where I live.
Awesome.
Terrific.
Thank you so much for coming on our show. Some super, super fantastic
Mhm.
tips for our listeners. And what does your day look like today after this podcast?
After this podcast, I'm gonna have lunch. I'm so excited. I've got a couple client calls, and then if the weather holds out, I may go hit the pool.
If
Nice.
anyone wants to find Chofa on her IG handle, because she will definitely reply that way, you can find her at ChaufaNguyen. Is that correct?
It's wrong
Nguyen.
here.
So appreciate your time, Chofa, and we'll talk to you very soon.